Part 64. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 636. The room next door was very lively. Luo Shen's family members were here. Luo Junjin stood beside Luo Shen's hospital bed. The old man was about 60 years old, 1.9 meters tall and thin. The anger between his eyebrows was no longer hidden. If you look carefully, you can see that the old man's physical condition is not good and his face is a little pale. The originally pale face was now even more colorless. Luo Fu knelt beside Luo Shen's bed, holding his sister's hand with both hands and putting it on his face. The second-generation ancestor who used to be arrogant and domineering cried like a child and kept asking his sister if it hurt. The two sisters Luo Shen and Luo Fu. The relationship with his younger brother is very good, otherwise Luo Fu would not be able to bear the cynicism of everyone and give up the position of heir. Luo Shen comforted Luo Fu softly. "Xiao Fu, be good. I don't feel any pain anymore. My car was damaged. Please recommend one to me." Looking at the bruises on her sister's face, Luo Fu lowered her head and choked. "Sister, I'll buy you a truck and kill these damned people." "Haha, okay. I listen to you, sister. I'm going to tell you a secret. Don't tell anyone. Come closer, I can't move." Luo Fu was obedient, and then his eyes widened continuously, looking at Luo Shen with an incredulous expression. Luo Shen nodded slightly. Luo Fu stood up and walked out of the ward. Luo Fu went out. Luo Junjin closed his eyes and sighed. Whispered. "Aren't you afraid that Xiao Fu will mess things up?" Luo Shen shook his head and smiled. "It's okay, Xiao Fu has sense, Dad. Someone is trying to kill me this time. I definitely can't return to the capital in this state. Those old immortals will definitely find opportunities for others to take over the company. I hope you will persist for 2 years. 2 years is enough time for me to secure my position." Luo Junjin sat on the edge of the bed and frowned. "My body can still hold on for 2 years. I'm afraid it won't work after a long time. Who is the person who killed you? Do you know it in your heart? The little brat from the Lin family? Or the one named Han?" Luo Shen shook his head. "I was rescued by Han Qian, and these two people were also sent here by Han Qian. Now I need a few trustworthy people to protect me, preferably my mother's family." When the words came out, Luo Junjin frowned, opened his mouth and spit out the word Lin. Luo Shen shook his head slightly after hearing this. "It's just that some people say that we have no evidence, but no matter whether there is evidence or not, I can't trust them anymore. I want you to come here today for 2 things. The first thing is to tell you, and the second thing is that I want to tell you let's start developing the tourist area in Binhai City. I want to leave a family business for Xiaofu in Binhai City." Luo Junjin chuckled. "I know I feel sorry for my brother. Tell me how much you want." "Not much, 600 million. Luo Junjin stood up suddenly and exclaimed. "Do you think your father prints money? No, that's impossible. 600 million is too much. I'll give you 550 million. Puff." Luo Shen smiled, and this smile affected the edge of the knife. The severe pain instantly made her facial features become distorted. Luo Junjin bent down and said quickly. "Don't cry. My dear, don't cry, little girl. Dad is a man with cancer. He won't live long. What's the use of keeping this money? Dad will give it to you. It's only 600 million. Go back and argue with a few old immortals. One fight, if it doesn't work, just cough up some blood." Luo Shen's eyes became sad and he whispered. "Dad, if I let Luo Fu take over the Luo family now, how about you go abroad for medical treatment? I can trade someone who can help Luo Fu." Luo Junjin smiled and shook his head. "You and Xiaofu have grown up. Why should I live so long? Wait until I get age spots? Do I have to be taken care of when I poop or pee? At that time, it is better to die. Your father and I have been proud all my life, but I can't stand this humiliation. I will take over the company for 2 years. After 2 years, I will travel abroad. It will be great to die wherever I go. Just lie down. Your mother's people will come over in the evening. I will go and do the work. I'll do something, and then I'll go back to the capital and send you some money. Dad, why are you going? Looking for someone to quarrel with. It doesn't matter if we don't get married or not, my daughter will be ruined. I, as a father, will be satisfied. If I don't slap Linmen twice today, he will be embarrassed to return to the capital. Luo Shen and his father chatted for a long time. Seeing that it was getting dark, Luo Junchen stood up, took out 2 envelopes from his arms, and handed them to the 2 men respectively. Take it for tea, right? Tu Xiao. Make an appointment and I'll thank him in person. By the way, girl, what kind of dog is there? Close the big dog. Oh. Got it, let's get some sleep, Xiaofu, should I take him back to the capital or something? Take it away, otherwise Han Qian will ask him for another 2 million. Luo Junchen frowned and said doubtfully. 2 million? Is that considered money? Luo Shen closed her eyes helplessly. We can't talk about going together. There is a generation gap. Early the next morning, Lin Zongheng ran to the hospital and knelt down to beg Luo Shen not to break off the engagement. But today, the people in the room were no longer Tu Xiao's 2 younger brothers. Lying on the other hospital bed was a blonde woman. She has a plump and graceful figure, and her hollow leather jacket exudes a woman's unique charm, like an aphrodisiac. The other 2 men were squatting by the wall, wearing thunderbolt gloves on their hands, eating chewing gum and staring at Lin Zongheng with interest. The other man was leaning against the window, expressionless. Lin Zongheng was stunned. He knew one of these 3 people. He saw him when he went to Luo's house during the Chinese New Year. He was the expressionless man standing by the window. He was the Luo family's bodyguard who even Luo Fu dared to beat. Luo Shen glanced at Lin Zongheng and said softly. Zongheng, let bygones be bygones. We will still be friends from now on. You are very good. It's just that I don't want to fall in love or get married. The word husband scares me. I'm very tired. I'll treat you to dinner after I'm discharged from the hospital. After finishing his words, Luo Shen nodded to the clinical foreign woman. The hot foreign girl stood up, walked towards Lin Zongheng on a catwalk, looked her up and down, and said with disdain. A man who doesn't weigh 200 pounds is not considered a man in my eyes. My lady has made it very clear. Let's go out. Lo God. Lin Zongheng was very unwilling, and at this moment, a small woodpecker knife was pointed at his lower body, and the hot foreign girl smiled coquettishly. Get out, be good. I quite like collecting this stuff. Lin Zongheng stepped back step by step, and when he retreated to the door, he said softly. I'll come over when you calm down. Turning around and going out, Lin Zongheng met Lu Shenga, who was holding chrysanthemums and a fruit basket. Eunuch Lu was in a good mood and was not surprised at all to meet Lin Zongheng by chance, so he squinted and smiled. Young Master Lin, have you come to see your fiancée? Roll. Lu Shenga was not angry either, so he opened the door of Han Qian's ward and walked in. He was in a really good mood. Han Qian was still alive and Luo Shen was not dead. So Luo Shen, who was regarded as prey the day before yesterday, suddenly became a hunter, and the hunter who designed this conspiracy might become the prey. But when it came to joining forces with Luo Shen, Lin Zongheng would still disdain it. Walking into the room, Han Qian was the only one in the ward. Lu Shenga chuckled softly. How is your health? You can't die. If you die, I will feel bad and miss you. Han Qian frowned and looked sideways at Lu Shenga. Can you stop acting like a gay? You are so humming comfortable. I played games at home all night, and I was beaten like a humming game in the woods. Did you bring any cigarettes? My cigarettes were taken away. Lushenga stepped forward and placed a bouquet of chrysanthemums on the bedside table, then took out a cigarette and handed one to Han Qian, smiling. Young Master Han wants a cigarette, how can Xiao Lu not give it to you? Just now I saw that bastard Lin, his face turned green. I don't know what happened. I guess it's a good thing for both of us. As soon as he finished speaking, the door was pushed open. Lin Zongheng walked into the ward, looked at Lushenga and said disdainfully. Yes. It's indeed a good thing for you. Luo Shen and I have broken off their engagement. Damn it. Han Qian, why did you show up in Yashai Pavilion? Lin Zongheng's voice was not loud, so he could keep it down so that the Luo Shen next door wouldn't hear. He stepped forward, opened the window and lit a cigarette. Han Qian held the cigarette in his mouth and curled his lips. You ask me? I still want to humming ask you, how could Go De Peo catch Luo Shen? Then call and threaten me? I think your plan is against me, right? I was beaten like a dog in the woods, stop talking nonsense. I paid the medical insurance premium. Lin Zongheng frowned. Your medical expenses are reimbursed by the government office. What do you want from me? What should you do now? We are grasshoppers tied to a rope. Han Qian and Lushenga looked at each other, and then they laughed. Lushenga burst into tears as she pointed at Lin Zongheng and laughed. What does it have to do with us? It's not that we are marrying someone. Besides, I was quietly playing games at home the night before yesterday. Hundreds of people on the Weiwei channel testified to me. Han Qian was another victim. Han Qian said immediately. Who is the same grasshopper as you? The bastard goes into the pot and stews on his own. We are not side dishes. Lin Zongheng pointed at the two of them and growled. Are you two kidding me? Lushenga raised his hand and said quickly. No. No, I didn't get involved in this matter, and I didn't leave the house. What does it have to do with me? Han Qian wants to play with you, but I have to say, Lin bastard, you are really unlucky. Before Feng Lun He Kui Li came to the city, don't drag us into the water here, your water is too deep, my brother can't swim. What a coincidence, I know how to dog paddle. The two of them sang together and Lin Zongheng was so angry that he almost exploded. He glared at them fiercely, slammed the window and walked out of the ward angrily. Not long after, a nurse came to remind them that they could not smoke in the ward. You don't need to guess to know that it was Lin Zongheng, your grandson, who told the secret. Lushenga put out the cigarette and said softly. What happened to you that night? A hook cannon that caused you to be so seriously injured. Han Qian frowned and whispered. If you hadn't sent those two people to kill me, I wouldn't be in such a miserable state. You fart, that night the old ghost named Zhone held a double-barreled shotgun to my head. How dare I send someone? You mean, besides Lin Zongheng, there is someone else who wants to kill you? No. It should be said to be Lin Zongheng. Do you want to kill Luo Shen? Think. After the words fell, the door was pushed open again. Wearing a white shirt, a black short skirt, flesh-colored stockings and high heels, her hair pulled high, a pair of black-rimmed glasses, and a stack of documents in her hand. Han Qian smiled. My miss, yeah, I miss you so much. All the flowers I've been waiting for have withered. Yates pushed up his glasses, glanced at the chrysanthemums on the table, and said coldly. Mr. Han, please respect yourself. Lushenga stood up and whispered. Han Qian, we can't be friends forever. Being a father and son? You are unfilial. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 637. Yates sat beside Han Qian's bed. Han Qian's eyes were fixed on Yates's beautiful legs. However, the next second Yates took a blanket and covered his legs. Han Qian was furious when he saw this. Strangers on the street can read it, why can't I? You are targeting me. Yates glanced at Han Qian and said calmly. Others will forget about it after seeing it. If you just touch it after seeing it, is it the same? I heard that a happy mood can speed up blood circulation. Then your wound will bleed. Did Mr. Han take the opportunity to have his foreskin done? Get lost, I'm normal. Yates stopped talking and took out a tablet from the folder and began to organize the information. His serious look made Han Qian a little embarrassed to disturb him. After a few minutes, Han Qian reached out and tugged the blanket on Yates' legs. Ji waved her hand and was about to hit him, but looked at Han Qian's pitiful look and held back. Flirting with Ye Ji is one of Han Qian's few joys. She is different from other girls. Flirting with Yan Qingqing may result in retaliation. Flirting with Ji Jing, Aunt Ji has no reaction, but with flirting with Ye Ji, she is like a bomb. Like cats? Han Qian tried again and again. Yates was so angry that his chest kept heaving, and Han Qian screamed strangely. Stay! You monster, you hid some kind of weapon in your arms, so I can. Squeak. The door was pushed open, and Cai Qinghu walked into the ward with a curious look on his face, asking as he walked. Ms. Sir, did Eunuch Lu come just now? Why were you scolding you and Yates while walking downstairs? And why are you calling yourself me? Han Qian sat up straight in an instant and pointed at the chrysanthemums on the table. Cai Qinghu frowned and walked forward, picked up the chrysanthemums and threw them into the trash can. At this time, Yates said. Mr. Han wants to see what's hidden under my shirt. Cai Qinghu frowned and glared at Han Qian, who laughed sarcastically. You're kidding, why did you come back by yourself? Cai Qinghu lay on the other bed and said softly. Chance Yang is leaderless over there. Warmth and poetry have been tied back. Teachers from Teacher Tong's school have come to apply for jobs. Yan Qingqing and the others are dawdling in the back. Oh. You didn't get much rest last night, please take a nap. Cai Qinghu looked sideways at Han Qian with a threatening look in his eyes, and Han Qian smiled guiltily. Not long after, Yan Qingqing and Ji Jing came back hand in hand. They walked into the ward and saw Han Qian awake. Yan Qingqing trotted forward and sat down on Cai Qinghu's bed. Cai Qinghu, who had just fallen asleep, glared at Yan with his eyes wide and gritted teeth. Qingqing, she wished she could kill this crazy woman with one shot. Yan Qingqing chattered about what happened last night. I heard that Luo Shen's family came over and scolded the Lin family and his son. Some people said that the engagement was terminated. Now the Lin family's investment will be restricted. When I heard that the alliance between the Lin family and the Luo family, my little heart is trembling with fear. Han Qian, please touch it for me. She was going to act like a hooligan when she talked. As soon as Yan Qingqing came forward, Cai Qinghu put his arms around her neck and pushed her onto the bed, closing his eyes and saying. Don't make trouble, I'll hold you to sleep. Yan Qingqing and Cai Qinghu were playing on the bed. Ji Jing smiled helplessly and turned to clean up the room. Just as she was about to go to the trash can, Ji Jing frowned, turned around and asked coldly. Who bought the flowers? Han Qian chuckled softly. Yes. But when his eyes fell on Aunt Ji's face, Han Qian couldn't laugh anymore. He had never seen Ji Jing with such an embarrassed face. Her face was so gloomy, her eyes were about to burst into flames, and her clenched hands where her fists trembled slightly. At this time, Yan Qingqing also sat up, walked forward and looked at the chrysanthemums in the trash can. Without saying anything, she picked up the trash can and left the ward. Han Qian explained softly that it was Lu Shenga who sent it. Ji Jing also knew the relationship between the two of them, but Ji Jing was still very angry, very, very, very angry. Okay, it's very common for me and him to send chrysanthemums. There's no need to get angry with this eunuch. If he didn't send a bouquet of chrysanthemums, I would have died. Be good. I want to eat a pear. Jijing closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She took out an apple from the cabinet and sat beside Han Qian's bed and started peeling it. Han Qian smiled and turned around to look at Yates. Follow your promise? Be my secretary for a week. Yates raised his head and glanced at Han Qian, put down the tablet in his hand, took out 2 mobile phones from the folder and put them on the bed. Looking at the familiar Nokia, Han Qian's eyes twitched slightly. Isn't this fixed? The other phone is the latest Samsung curved screen. Putting down his phone, Yates picked up his tablet and said softly. Nokia went to many places to repair it. The yeomanman handed the phone to me and asked me to repair it and keep the phone number. They wanted to check it. While talking, Jijing cut off a small piece of apple and handed it to Han Qian. Han Qian ate the apple and mumbled. This probably is. It's because the yeomanmen don't dare to check your mobile phone rashly. Although they have the right, they don't want to offend you because of this. The main reason is that your mobile phone communication only contains numbers and no names. So I asked for the repair of the mobile phone. People cleared all the numbers. Han Qian's eyes twitched slightly, but it was the right thing to do. Yates didn't know if Han Qian had been on the phone with some suspected people when the accident happened. Han Qian ate the second piece of apple and said. Then, inside. I have had the car appraised by someone. The maintenance cost is very high. It is better to buy a new car. I have learned something about Nuan's mother. My aunt is outgoing and a small car like the Panamera is not suitable. I found out from the chat that my aunt is extrovert. I prefer large off-road vehicles such as the 570, Overlord, and Dodge. In addition, I have considered several Lexus models that are very suitable for my aunt. The prices are set between 600,000 and 2 million, and I have already started contacting the sales of these cars. License plate. You can just talk to MSCAI King Hu about the license plate issue. There is no need to go to the Yamen gate. Han Qian said no more than 10 words in total. Yates said all the answers he wanted to hear. Han Qian was speechless for a moment and looked at Jijing blankly and didn't know where to start. Yates did not stop because Han Qian did not speak, and continued on the sliding tablet. Someone put gangsters into your home, and with someone protecting you next door, I have already written a copy of this matter and am going to go to the Yamen gate to talk to them. Also, I adjusted the surveillance of Yezai Pavilion. It can be determined that Go De Peo passed the security check mixed with Wei Tianquan's team. Han Qian frowned upon hearing this. Wei Tianquan? Should I ask him for an explanation? Yates nodded slightly and continued. I have contacted Wei Tianquan and told him to give an explanation for this matter. If he cannot give a reasonable explanation, I have prepared lawyers and prosecution documents to prosecute him for bringing Gouda Pao into Yashai Pavilion. Charge him with premeditated murder. Monitor. After monitoring my copy, it was burned. I will not let the Yeomanmen know about it. I can speak loudly against Wei Tianquan. When he can't bear the pressure, he will tell the person behind it. Even if you know it now, the other party will. There is nothing you can do if you don't admit it. This matter requires Miss Luo next door. You continue. Han Qian knew that he was no longer talking. Luo Shen had already done what he wanted to ask and do. Luo Shen looked at the tablet and continued. Lu Guangming called you and I answered the call. He asked if he needed help with this matter. He thought that Wei Tianquan had also appeared at his resort with Gouda Pao. I didn't agree to this matter. I just told him that we will contact him after he is discharged from the hospital. It is best if you make a phone call in person. Also, this time you are alive thanks to Guan Yun Biao from the 8th district. I don't recommend thanking Guan Yun Biao directly. You should thank Tu Xiao. The situation in the 8th district is complicated. The most taboo thing is to do things beyond your level. Even you can't do it? Han Qian nodded lightly and whispered. Give Tu Xiao one. I personally suggest that you sit down and talk with Lu Guangming and Tu Xiao after you are discharged from the hospital. I will reserve a seat and help you contact them. I have refused all interviews in the city for you. In addition, I have told Luo Miss, no matter what you say at the Yamen gate, don't answer. She'll wait until you make a decision before she speaks, so as not to cause unnecessary trouble to you. Go on. Whether Kui Li appears in Yashai Pavilion, I don't recommend that you tell others that he has been there. This will have a great impact on the Yeomanman. If you choose to keep it secret, the Yeomanman will owe you a favor. Later, Wu Siguan will invest in street lights. It will be very convenient for monitoring etc. Having said this, Yates took a deep breath and continued. I have arranged for someone from the Yeomanman to come and ask about this matter in the afternoon, so you'd better talk to Miss Luo next door quickly. After you are discharged from the hospital, the first thing you want to do is to show up outside to show that you just suffered a minor injury. Shang, the second thing is to go to the Yeomanman to ask the identity of the two dead people. If you find out, it will be very effective for you, but I am worried that the Yeomanman will hide it from you. Miss Luo is missing. After someone answered your call, someone else knew about it, but their behavior was very calm and seemed to be expected. However, this is just a guess and cannot be taken seriously. Su Hongchang received a call. The person asked Su Hongchang to trick Wu Qingxi out, but Su Hongchang refused. Su Hongchang could continue to stay with him. Han Qian tilted his head and looked at Yates, wondering. You made this in 2 days and it's the result. Yates shook his head. 30 hours to be exact. After that, I have arranged a lot of itineraries and plans for you. It will probably be over within a week. Han Qian smiled. Miss Ye, you are very professional. Yates put away the tablet, narrowed his eyes and smiled. Because I am Yates. After finishing his words, Yates glanced at his watch and stood up. It's still an hour before the people from the Yamen gate arrive. I've already informed Director Qian that Uncle Wen and Auntie Wen will come to support you. Besides, I think you should get out of bed and go next door to have a look. Han Qian took a deep breath and turned to look at Cai King Hu. Look, this is a professional secretary. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 638. Han Qian pushed open the door of Luoshan's ward, and Yates pushed the wheelchair in. The other girls chose to avoid it. They wanted to reserve Han Qian's personal space. When the two boys from District 8 saw Han Qian, they stood up quickly and bowed. They all said in unison, Uncle. Just when Han Qian was about to say that there was no need to call him that, Yates poked Han Qian's uninjured shoulder, then took out 2 envelopes from his bag and handed them to one of them. Yates smiled softly. I'm sorry to trouble you that night. You tried your best to find my husband. Thanks to you, here is 60,000 yuan. Use it to buy some new clothes for your brothers. I will thank you again after my husband is discharged from the hospital. Now you can go out and work for a while, 1 hour is enough for you to make a round trip. The boy from District 8 took the envelope and bowed again. Thank you, uncle, for the reward. After finishing speaking, the two of them walked out of the room and closed the door. Han Qian turned to look at Yates and frowned. Miss Ye is so generous. Let me first say that I am a poor person. Yates smiled softly and said nothing, but then Luo Shen spoke. Yates is right to do this. 1,000 words are not as valuable as money, and I will be more interested in you in the future. In fact, she is also reminding me by doing this. Yates laughed softly. You're worrying too much. Luo Shen curled his lips. Maybe. Yates pushed Han Qian forward, then took out the fruit from Luo Shen's cabinet and peeled it with a knife. Yates's skills were very good. The skin of the apple was more than 1 meter long. He kept getting stunned. Han Qian tooted. Although Yates was amazed, he was already cursing in his heart. Why can't you act taller? After waiting for a long time without hearing Han Qian's words, Luo Shen felt a little embarrassed. Yates couldn't help it anymore, stuffed the apple to Han Qian, took a deep breath and said calmly. Miss Luo, I believe you still remember what happened that night, but I hope you forget it and don't remember anything. Mr. Han doesn't want others to know that Kui Li has been here, and I hope you can choose that he hasn't been here. Luo Shen looked at Han Qian and said softly. Did you mean? Han Qian, who was eating an apple, was stunned for a moment, and then nodded vigorously. With this exertion, his head began to blur. He leaned on Yates's shoulder and frowned. Yates ignored Han Qian and continued. The matter between Mr. Han and you is a private matter. Originally, I, the secretary, should not have intervened, but my husband's character is too macho and he is always unknowingly condescending to women. Miss Luo, you chose to hide it, then in return, you can get a piece of the cake in the development of the back mountain, provided that it is the Low group, not the Changxiang group. Luo Shen had already understood that Han Qian had no plans today. Only Yates was using this matter. Since it was Yates, Luo Shen was no longer polite. He stood up with difficulty and said in a deep voice. What do you mean by Miss Ye, let me raise a fourth force in Binhai City? It's not that simple, right? Now whoever gets the cake in the back mountain will get it? Are you sure you want to compensate me? Miss Ye may have other plans. Yates smiled and shook his head. I'm just a secretary, what plans can I have? In fact, I've already told you, Miss Luo. Maybe you can remember it if you think about it. I'm a little curious, Miss Luo, didn't your bodyguard come over? While talking, a foreign woman walked out of the bathroom with a hot figure and attractive clothes. Seeing this woman, Luo Shen's face instantly turned ugly. He got up and pushed Han Qian's wheelchair out, talking as he walked. Ms. Luo, you just need to remember what my husband asked you to do. We can discuss the rest after you leave the hospital. Yates finally escaped and walked out of the ward. Han Qian asked curiously. What's wrong with you? Are you afraid of that foreign woman? Yates gritted his teeth and nodded, whispering. This woman has a problem with her sexual orientation. When she was in the capital, she almost made me sick, just thinking about it. Let's go, 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 go. In Luo Shen's room, the foreign girl looked at the door of the ward with a little disappointment, turned around and sighed, gave Luo Shen a glass of water, and whispered. Why didn't Yates tell me earlier when he was in Binhai? If I knew, you wouldn't be hurt this time. No wonder Lu Shengyu always said recently that Sister Yiza was snatched away. He was heartbroken. Now my heart is also broken. Luo Shen sighed helplessly. Why is there no normal person around him? After drinking some water, Luo Shen said softly. See Han Qian? How do you feel? The foreign girl curled her lips. It's either a strong man weighing more than 200 pounds, or it's Yates. I'm not interested in anything else. Do you want me to kill this bastard Lin Zongheng? Why kill him? After he dies, the Lin family has other heirs. The matter is not urgent. I finally understand why Lu Shengge stayed in Binhai City and refused to leave. This place is so exciting and nostalgic. The folk customs are so simple. Binhai City. Back in the room, Yates always felt uncomfortable, neither standing nor sitting. He always felt that the foreign female gangster was staring at her somewhere. Han Qian looked at Yates' unnatural look and chuckled. Don't worry. Some guys in Binhai City dare to kill me, but that doesn't mean they dare to touch the people around me. Be prepared. People will be here soon. 45 minutes later, Cheng Jin was about to come to the ward, and greeted Han Qian with greetings. As for Li Jinhai, his sister Li Jinhe had already called him out of the ward. Cheng Jin got straight to the point and spoke concisely. Feng Lun and Kui Li have never been here. You caught those two gangsters? Han Qian frowned. I don't even know what these two things are called. Wouldn't they say they were caught by Feng Lun? Cheng Jin bent down and approached Han Qian and whispered. They have to be believed. If Feng Lun and Kui Li really come back and seriously injure you, I won't be able to handle it after the investigation from above. You deserve credit for arresting them, and the land in Dongcheng will continue to be returned to you. Give me a piece of the back mountain to develop. Didn't Niu Qiudong say that I drove away the Luo family last time? This time I'm getting it back to invest. Cheng Jin said contemptuously. You don't suffer at all. Do you want your piece of land? I'll give it to you cheaper. The cheapness of this piece of land has nothing to do with Han Qian's injury. It really can't be sold. We discussed it for a long time at the Yamanmen and also contacted some businessmen. They had no idea about the land at all. Let alone saying it was cheap, it was just for nothing. If you give it to others, they won't want to develop it. There is no village in the front and no store in the back. Who will it be sold to after development? Han Qian turned around and glanced at Yates. At this moment, Yates was in a dazed state. She didn't understand what Han Qian meant. She even said that she didn't listen to the conversation between the two. In desperation, Han Qian tells Cheng Jin that he knows how to say it, and this land is still under consideration. Cheng Jin was anxious. 50 million, you take it? 2,000 5,000, not a penny more. We'll wait until you're discharged from the hospital to talk about it. There's another thing. Apart from hooking the cannon, can you guess who the two people who killed you are? Han Qian grinned. The accomplice who hooked up with cannon. Cheng Jin's face was full of doubts, and he stood up and spoke again. I'll go next door to see Luo Shen. When you are discharged from the hospital, we can have a good chat. Cheng Jin left, Li Jinhai didn't come in, and there was nothing to ask. The matter was just there. Go Depao escaped from prison and came back to kill Han Qian, but he failed to kill him and was killed instead. Han Qian was injured and hospitalized. Is there any problem with this? It can be said that Han Qian has no problem. There is a reason to kill Han Qian with a cannon. He was sent to prison by Han Qian. It is good that Han Qian escaped from prison and did not cause trouble at the Yamanmen. Han Qian glanced at Yates. Frowning. I've told you, what are you afraid of? I'm still humming alive. How can she be so scared by you? Huh? What are you and I capable of? If she dares to touch you, I'll chop her into pieces, take off her paw, that's it. Stop being an eyesore to me and go wherever you need to. Yates stood beside Han Qian like a doormat, with his head lowered and not daring to say a word. At this time, the mother-in-law finished her work, trotted into the room, stepped forward, grabbed Han Qian's ears, and said angrily. Today Feng Lun will hook up with Depao tomorrow. Little bastard, you don't want to live anymore? If you don't want to live, I will help you. Do you know who ordered Depao to hook up? Han Qian grinned. Mom, it hurts. Now do you know it hurts? What does it have to do with you whether other people's goblins are dead or alive? It's not a matter of whether they take it seriously if you are kind enough to save them. I have to endure the pain. Who is it? Li Jinhe's voice was so piercing that Cai Qinghu was so frightened that he wanted to run away, while Han Qian lowered his head and whispered softly. Who else can it be? Just those guys. When I am discharged from the hospital, they will clean up one by one. Damn it, I crashed your car and totaled it. Just buy one when it's useless. A Porsche is not suitable for you to drive. Don't interrupt me. I'm still worth $1 or $2 million. I've made my son like this. I have to settle the account with him. You say your name first, and I'll ask your dad to come over. Han Qian was still struggling, when Yates spoke. Auntie. Wei Tiancheng of Huishan Group is highly suspicious, and I also have some evidence here. Hearing this, Li Jinhai let go of Han Qian's ears, raised his head and said coldly. Sure. Yates was so frightened that he took a step back, swallowed, and nodded vigorously. Li Jinhai snorted coldly. Who do I think it is? It's all Wei Tiancheng, this little bastard. He didn't make a sound when I was playing with the watermelon knife. After finishing speaking, he took out his cell phone and called Wenxi. Old Wen, we found a man named Wei. You can take care of it? Mom, give me a chance and I'll do it. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 639. Han Qian was discharged from the hospital early. He could walk and crawl. There was no reason to be visited like a monkey in the hospital. Although he said he was here to visit, he still wanted to go home. Zhengjing next door had been transferred, and the house was relisted for rent. When Nuan asked softly if he wanted to buy the house, Han Qian smiled and shook his head. Walking into the house, Han Qian found that all the furniture in the house had been replaced, and turned his head to look at Wen Nuan in confusion. This. Wen Nuan helped Han Qian sit on the sofa and said softly. I was worried that Feng Lun would leave something strange here, so I threw away all the things at home. I found someone to check carefully and found that there were no problems. Then I bought a new set. The door locks were changed, and the door locks were also changed. I made a complaint to the property management company, and if they don't give me a satisfactory result, I will sue their company directly. Han Qian smiled, lying on Wen Nuan's lap and looking at Wen Nuan, who looked down at Han Qian. Very warm and sweet. Until warm saliva fell on Han Qian's face, the warm scene was broken, and Han Qian smiled bitterly. Do you want to eat me? Why are you still drooling? Wen Nuan smiled innocently and wiped his mouth. His silly look was very cute. When Wen Nuan put down his hand, Han Qian held Nuan Wen's hand and said softly. Sorry, thank you. Wen Nuan lowered his head and kissed Han Qian on the forehead, wrinkled his nose and whispered. You have the courage to admit your mistakes and are determined not to change them. You will still do it next time something like this happens. So. I'm used to it and I'm not angry anymore. Why are you thanking me? You have mastered my iron Tou Kung Fu. Disgusting. Han Qian stretched out his hands and hugged Nuan's waist, closed his eyes and sighed. At that time, I almost couldn't bear it anymore. A picture of you suddenly appeared in my mind. I thought about you hitting me on the head so hard. I am still alive. How can this broken tree be as hard as my little warm head? The more I think about it, the angrier I get. Hee, then I win, I must be awesome. Nuan lowered his head and smiled. Awesome, Han Qian, you are the most awesome, but can you get up now? Why? I have to go to the toilet. Han Qian sat up and stood up together with Wen Nuan. He walked to the mirror and looked at his face, which was bruised and purple, with a bandage wrapped around his head. He also wanted to ask Wei Tiancheng out to meet him. This image seemed a bit bad. Then a strange idea suddenly came to my mind. Nuan, can your liquid foundation cover up the injuries on my face? When have you ever seen me use foundation? Go find your Mr. Yan, I'll put on lipstick when I go out, shut up. Don't call me sloppy, my sister is naturally beautiful and doesn't need makeup. I didn't say it, you said it yourself, Nuan. If I told you that Lin Zongheng wanted to kill Luo Shen, would you be surprised? Click. Nuan opened the sliding door and exposed half of his body, looking at Han Qian and said seriously. Don't say he wants to kill Luo Shen, even if you say he eats shit, I will believe it. I'm very curious about how he made this decision. Luo Shen used to be very good to him and defended him everywhere. Hey. You have to throw away when you compare goods. People are better than others, right, brother Qian, who is more beautiful between me and Luo Shen? Han Qian grinned. You are pretty. How about compared with Yan Qingqing? You are pretty. Where's Cai King Hu? You are beautiful. When I mention Cai King Hu, I think of something. What happened to you? One day when I saw you guys getting together, you covered your face and hid behind me. Nuan curled her lips, turned around and went back to the bathroom. When she came out again, she only had her underwear and panties on her body. She strutted towards the stairs and whispered. Pinch it? She doesn't have a good mouth at all. She calls you husband in front of her parents. Because of this matter, I was nagged by my mother last night. I'm going to change clothes. You can also change one. I like the clothes Yan Qingqing bought, they are too formal. Oh. Wen Nuan, you don't suit black underwear very well. Shut up. You know nothing. She ran up to the second floor with bare feet, put on a nightgown, and took Han Qian's clothes downstairs. She was not shy about being warm in front of Han Qian. Before the divorce, she also wore a short nightgown with her legs crossed. While sitting on the couch. At that time Nuan had accepted Han Qian, but she was very traditional. When he went downstairs again, he pressed Han Qian on the sofa, squatted in front of his ex-husband and took off his socks, unbuttoned his belt and took off his pants. Looking at the bandage on Han Qian's leg, Wen Nuan cursed softly and stood up to take them off. When Han Qian put on his shirt, Nuan couldn't help but feel a little wet in his eyes. This is still the body of a 26-year-old man. The soldiers who went to the battlefield in ancient times were just like this. The stab wounds were crisscrossed. There were more than 10 dense stab wounds on the back, and the stitches of 2 of the stab wounds had not been removed. Entangled on his back like 2 centipedes. Looking at the knife wound on Han Qian's right arm extending from the elbow to the wrist, Wen Nuan choked softly. This is not a fight at all. It's clearly to delay you. I will definitely not let Wei Tiancheng go. I will suppress the Huishan group immediately. Anyone who dares to cooperate with the Huishan group will fight to the death with them. Han Qian didn't put on his shirt, so he took out one and looked at Nuan. Nuan walked to the balcony and opened the window. When he was about to turn around, Han Qian hugged Nuan's waist behind him and said softly. Anjing will be your little princess. I don't need you to worry about these things while I'm still alive. I will definitely not let Wei Tiancheng go this time. Xianyuan, let me ask you a question. If you are withdrawing your shares from Changxiang, it won't be troublesome. Nuan turned around and walked to the coffee table, picked up a lighter and lit it for the first time. She lit a cigarette for Han Qian and said softly. No trouble, there will be many people who want to buy my shares and need me to leave Changxiang. Han Qian took a breath, then coughed violently. When Nuan reached out and took away the cigarette in Han Qian's hand and whispered. If your lungs are hurt, don't smoke anymore. I listen to you, stop smoking. I now have an idea to get you out of Changxiang, but it is just a prototype. This time, whether Lin Zongheng wants to kill me or not, it has been proven that the Lin family caused trouble for me the past few times. Damn it, I even suspect that Wei Tiancheng and Feng's Haida are just 2 pawns, and there are 2 giant Buddhas behind them, so it is impossible for me not to seek revenge on them. A pair of arms stretched out from under his armpits, and his white and soft little hands were placed on Han Qian's chest, and he said warmly. Your heartbeat is very fast. I can feel that you are very confident in revenge, but I hope you can think about me more often. You don't know how many people were worried about you that night. I can't stop such a thing. Even appearing can't stop you from moving forward. I hope that when you encounter this kind of thing, you will live for me, and we will remarry, have children, and grow old together. It seems that the divorce certificate has been lost, and we need to replace it. Does this mean that we two have to divorce again? Hey! You must be out of your mind. You insist on filing for divorce. If you want me to ignore Lin Zongheng, just say a word. If you don't say anything, I don't know what you are. What do you think? I thought you had annoyed me to death in the past 3 years. Well, if you don't hit me on the head, you're still very cute. Smash you to death, you philandering carrot. Han Qian turned around and looked at Wen Nuan. Wen Nuan looked at Han Qian. His eyes gradually closed, and his lips slowly came closer. At the moment they touched, the door was opened, and Tong Yao walked in with vegetables in hand. Panting. I'm exhausted. Next time you go shopping for groceries, let she see I do the shopping, and you two continue, just pretend I don't exist. Go on, I'll get a bottle of water. How could this continue? Han Qian wondered. Teacher Tong, why do you have the key to my house? Nursery rhyme replied angrily while drinking Coke. I changed the locks on your door. Why do you think I have a key? If the door handle is placed under the footpad, I really don't know what you and Nuan are thinking. Okay. You two continue, I will take a rest. Let's go and cook. How can we continue with such a big light bulb sitting on the sofa? Han Qian sighed softly. You two play, I'll go up and take a nap. Walking up to the second floor and looking at the empty second bedroom, Han Qian was stunned and shouted. Nuan Nuan, where is my bed? Where is my wardrobe? Ah! I forgot to tell you. Your bed has been ordered. It will take 2 weeks at the earliest to deliver it. You can sleep in my room first. Why do you have a bed and I don't? Are you going to sleep or not? The word gentleness and warmth never seem to go together, but you can call her irritable. Warm's character is still very good. She is in an awkward position between gentleness and irritability. Han Qian got into bed and took out his mobile phone to Guan Yunbiao. After making a phone call to ask how he was doing, Guan Degu told Han Qian that he would be working out in the gym. The next time he saw Kui Li, it would be the anniversary of his death. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian couldn't help but smile. Survival. Han Qian is brewing a new plan. In the evening, Han Qian looked at the rich dinner and swallowed. He kept eating Aunt Ji's nutritious meals in the hospital, and his mouth almost faded. Han Qian once suspected that he went to the hospital to become a monk. 3 meals a day, the meal is mostly vegetarian. Aunt Ji was really obedient. She said something simple, and she simply ordered carrots, cucumbers, and cabbage. As soon as Han Qian sat down, Tanjeo placed a bowl of rice in front of Han Qian, filled a bowl of soup with it and blew it to cool down, and Han Qian whispered in a low voice. Honey, the food is so good, can I have a bottle of wine? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 640. Putting on his hat and clothes, Han Qian went downstairs and went out. Wen Nuan stayed with Han Qian at home for 2 days before being taken away by Yu Shisai. Lin Zongheng seemed to have disappeared. There was no leader in the company to take charge. Nuan was so angry that he cursed Lin Zongheng at home for this bastard to die. After spending time with Han Qian for a long time, Wen Nuan also became a little irritable, from a little girl who couldn't curse to an irritable CEO who didn't blush when he cursed. Of course Han Qian refused to admit that it had nothing to do with him, it was all Yan Qingqing's doing. Downstairs, I rode the big toy I bought for Wen Wen. Wenwen hadn't played with it much since I bought it. I basically rode it in Qinghu to the company for a few laps. Now that Han Qian doesn't have a car, he has become Han Qian's transportation tool. Probably only Wen Nuan would agree to Han Qian dragging his body to ride a motorcycle. Putting on the helmet, turning off the accelerator, the motorcycle rushed out of the underground parking lot with Yinlang. Han Qian shuttled among the vehicles along the way. He finally understood why his mother-in-law likes to ride electric bikes. Isn't this too convenient? Han Qian's riding style aroused dissatisfaction from many people along the way. They kept honking and yelling. Gradually, Han Qian felt that something was wrong. There was a Hyundai car following him closely behind him. Han Qian suddenly frowned. Could it be that there are still people who don't want to give up? Are you ready to take action on this road? When he saw someone in the cab taking out a siren and placing it on the roof of the car, Han Qian panicked. This frightened him more than seeing the gangster. If he was caught, he would never ride a motorcycle again. The red Ducati motorcycle without a license plate in front of you, please slow down and pull over. Stop. Give up resistance and stop immediately. Han Qian raised his middle finger to the car behind him, which was a hornet's nest. Within 5 minutes, 2 traffic police riders caught up with him. At this moment, Li Jinhai was in the monitoring room. He couldn't help but know who the guy on the motorcycle was at a glance, and he gritted his teeth and growled in anger. Little bastard, your scar has healed and you have forgotten the pain. He said this, but he still took out his mobile phone and called the traffic police team, telling him to stop and don't hurt anyone. The child was all injured. After questioning, the traffic police found out that it was Han Qian, and he suddenly had a headache. It won't work if you don't catch it. If you catch it, you may not be able to catch it. Then the people from the traffic police team thought of a way. Just ask someone to call some of Han Qian's good friends and tell the pursuing traffic police to call his name through the loudspeaker. Little bastard, I can't cure you. Not long after, Han Qian was furious on the street, and several loudspeakers behind him were shouting together like crazy. Han Qian, you broke the law by riding a motorcycle without taking pictures. Your second uncle is looking for you. Han Qian, stop the car immediately. Your second uncle said he won't hit you. Han Qian, if you don't stop the car, your second uncle will come to arrest you. Stop the car immediately and come back with me to accept the punishment. At the same time, Han Qian's cell phone kept ringing, one after another. Han Qian was so angry that he was trembling. You can chase me and punish me. Are you calling me shameless? People along the way talked about it, and then everyone thought of someone. It is said that Wu Qingxi's rumored boyfriend is also named Han Qian. I'm so excited, I took a video and posted it on Weibo. In the end, Han Qian couldn't stand it anymore, so he parked the car on the side of the road, took off his helmet, and squatted on the ground, holding his cell phone in one hand and his head in the other. At this time, the cell phone rang again, and surprisingly it was Yang Lan. Han Qian answered the phone and whispered. Sister Yang, are you looking for me? Baby, have you recovered from your injuries? Are you going to race on the road on a motorcycle? Are you crazy? The stitches on your shoulders haven't been removed yet. I'm so mad at you. You're so mad at me. Just follow the traffic police back to the traffic police station. I will pick you up. Yang Ian's scolding was so loud that Han Qian couldn't help but put the phone away and whispered. Sister Yang, who else has received the call? The General Affairs Department has received the call. Han Qian, you can do it. You really can, you wait for me at the traffic police team. Han Qian closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Just as he hung up the phone from Yang Lan, Guan Yunbiao called. After answering the call, Guan Yunbiao smiled evilly. Brother Han, you are a true hero. I admire you, I admire you. He hung up the phone directly, stood up, and bowed to the traffic police who surrounded him. I realize my mistake. Please give me the death penalty. The best thing is to divide the body into 5 horses. I can't live anymore. How can you play like this? A beheading will only leave a scar as big as a bowl. I admit it if you play like this. Several traffic policemen couldn't help laughing, but one of the older traffic policemen coughed dryly and said seriously, "Mr. Han, where is your motorcycle license plate? Ask my wife." "In our information, Mr. Han, you are divorced and single. I would like to ask, which wife is it, Mr. Wen or Mr. Yan? Enjoy the warmth." The old traffic policeman went to make a call. Not long after, the old traffic policeman came back and coughed lightly. "Ahem. Mr. Han, Mr. Wen said that this motorcycle does not have a license plate, so please come with us back to the traffic police team to accept the punishment." He was taken back to the traffic police team. His motorcycle was impounded and he was fined 2,000 yuan. Since he was injured and worried about dying inside, he was not detained. These were the words of the captain of the traffic police team. This guy was an acquaintance with Han Qian. When he went out, he told Han Qian that he had a chance to get his driver's license from the mayor. Han Qian made a face at him. The entire traffic police team didn't believe that this seemingly harmless, naughty, and very kind young man died with Feng Lun and Go De Peo. Completely different from what I imagined, very down to earth. Then they saw an incredibly beautiful woman. Yang Lan is here. Today, Yang Lan dresses like a girl. She wears denim shorts, a white vest, a sports cap on her head, and her long hair scattered behind her. Yang Lan dresses up like an 18-year-old girl. Her appearance also made the bachelors in the traffic police team widen their eyes, and they all asked who called the little girl. "Is there any injury on your head?" Yang Lan looked at Han Qian seriously. Han Qian lowered his head like a child who had done something wrong and whispered, "Some. Where's the shoulder? The heaviest thing is the shoulders. Back. Like 10 swords. Waist. Some. Arms and legs. Some." Yang Lan was so angry that his chest kept heaving, and then he stretched out his hand and grabbed Han Qian's ears and said angrily, "Isn't it here? Xiao Han Qian, you are so angry with me, please come out. The fine hasn't been paid yet." Yang Lan was furious with Han Qian. After asking, he took out 2,000 yuan from his bag and handed it to the traffic police team. Then he grabbed Han Qian's ears and came out of the traffic police team. He took a step forward and kicked Han Qian in the butt very lightly. "Are you crazy? With so many injuries on your body, it's too late for other people to recover from their injuries. You're riding a broken motorcycle on the road and you're dead. There's no need to remove this thread, it can just collapse by itself." "Huh? Damn you kid, you are worried about me to death. The phone call said you were riding a motorcycle at 100 miles per hour on the road. Do you have a certificate?" Han Qian covered his buttocks with his hands and laughed naively. "Which child in the countryside doesn't know how to ride a motorcycle? Are you quite proud? Get in the car. Sister Yang, I still have something to do." "What the hell are you doing? Go to the hospital and give me a full physical examination. Otherwise, you won't be able to go anywhere today, even if Mr. Yan comes here. This thing is like a magic spell." Facing several girls, Han Qian can hide and cheat whenever he can. In short, he is disobedient. But in front of Yang Lan, Han Qian has no idea of resistance at all. Han Qian was very afraid of having an MRI. The doctor also said that Han Qian did not need to do this test, but Yang Lan insisted on checking Han Qian. There was definitely something wrong with his head. Han Qian, who was not afraid of anything, had an MRI and his legs were all soft. "Yes, I don't know why, I'm just afraid." Finally the doctor gave the answer. Han Qian suffered from claustrophobia, and when Yang Lan asked if he needed to take medicine, Han Qian quickly pulled Yang Lan away. After that, Yang Lan accompanied him all the way through CT, color ultrasound, blood tests, and stitch removal. Han Qian was not afraid of injections. That thing didn't hurt, but he couldn't watch the needle pierce his skin. In short, there are no major problems and a lot of minor ones. It was not until 2:30 in the afternoon that the results came out. There was still some trauma and slight inflammation in the lungs, and the sternum showed signs of healing. The other injuries were still the same as before. The doctor prescribed medicine, and Yang Lan bought another one according to the medicine list. Before you recover, you must report to the General Affairs Department every day. In the morning, noon, and evening, except for these 3 times, you can go wherever you like. If you run around on a motorcycle again, I will beat you. It's okay now. Just take the medicine. I'll go home and eat. I didn't discuss it with you. Xiao Baibei knows that he is taking medicine. Take medicine. After leaving the hospital and getting into the car, Yates called and asked Han Qian why he was crazy. The traffic police team called her. Han Qian became angry when she mentioned this matter and said angrily, "Didn't you ask me to go out and show my face when I feel better? Miss Ye, are you very forgetful?" Yates was silent for a few seconds and said quietly, "Mr. Han, you have to distinguish what is showing up and what is embarrassing. I asked you to go out and show your face to put pressure on someone. I didn't say I asked you to go out and be embarrassed. The whole time I made the fuss, I knew you didn't have a license to ride your bike. Your second uncle, I'll chase you and beat you up. Get lost." Han Qian was sent home by Yang Lan. Watching Yang Ian's car leave, Han Qian walked out in a hurry. As a result, he saw Yang Lan standing at the corner and staring at him as soon as he walked less than 50 meters. Han Qian turned around and run. Can't afford to offend. On the way back, Han Qian called Wei Tiancheng. "Thief son, find a chance to talk. If you don't kill me, then just buy a coffin and wait for me to cover it for you. The time has come to break up the skin." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 641. Han Qian had a bandage on his head and was holding a baseball bat in his hand. He had already lost all his face anyway, and there was no need to keep it at all. Han Qian was very lucky for one thing. There was always someone around him when he was messing around. There were 2 people accompanying me. Guan Yunbiao leaned against the tree trunk on the roadside with his hands folded across his chest and his head lowered. He closed his eyes and didn't know what he was thinking about. He was wearing a bright red suit imported from Great Britain. Finally, he no longer looked like a diaper in the past. It is said that people rely on clothes, and Buddha relies on gold. This is quite reasonable. When paired with this guy's ponytail, it really has some flavor. Compared to Guan Degu, Sul Yang, who was squatting on the curb, looked a little less serious. He was wearing a pink peach blossom shirt, blue Hawaiian shorts, a pair of flip-flops on his feet, and a swing stick in his hand. Pedestrians passing by gave way, and some people called the local police station. Han Qian took out a cigarette, then threw the cigarette case to Sul Yang and said with a smile, "Today I am not trying to be reasonable. There is no reason for them to send people to kill me. I still talk to them calmly. We will go there when Yates comes." Then he glanced at Sul Yang and said contemptuously, "You're already married, why are you still dressed like this?" Sul Yanjun fought back with contempt. "You're divorced, aren't you still being chased and beaten by your second uncle all over the city? But I have to say, Brother Go looks a bit slutty today." While he was talking, Han Qian's cell phone rang, and Li Jinhai called him. "You bastard, I'm going to the province today to be scolded. You should be careful when you are messing around at home. Don't cause serious harm to anyone. My second uncle knows that you feel aggrieved. My uncle has also thought about this matter. As long as it can be cured, okay, don't cause permanent trauma. My second uncle will resign to fight for you, even after scolding me. It's okay if this officer doesn't do it." "Hey, uncle, are you enlightened? Little bastard, I'm beating you up when I get back. I'll take the motorcycle back sometime. You've already prepared the documents. Okay. Go and have fun by yourself." Li Jinhai hung up the phone, and the driver asked in a low voice if this was a violation of discipline. Li Jinhai snorted and said angrily, "Discipline? What kind of discipline? I, Li Jinhai, am already at this age. How can I be a bad director who can't even protect my own children? That's nonsense. Today I will go to the provincial department to ask. I, Li Jinhai, have been fair and honest all my life. Today I will. If you want to protect my nephew and son-in-law, you can kill or hack them as you please." After hanging up the phone, Han Qian was a little surprised. Was Li Jinhai really enlightened, or was he just talking about it? This guy made Han Qian feel confused. After waiting for about 20 minutes, Yates arrived belatedly, stepped out of the car, looked at the three guys, and sighed. "What are you going to do?" Han Qian stepped forward and got into the passenger seat, lowered the window and smiled with his eyes narrowed. "You'll know when we get there. Go to Huishan Group." At this time, Wei Tiancheng was pacing back and forth in the office. Now the matter was serious. Han Qian was not dead, and neither was Luo Shen. Han Qian's phone call yesterday clearly told him that he already knew what was going on. Can he afford to offend Han Qian now? There were so many people watching behind this little brat. When she, who had always been silent, also spoke out this time. He had already called Linmen to talk about the matter. Linmen was so angry that he scolded Wei Tiancheng. No wonder the old guy from the Luo family, with half his foot in the coffin, came to Binhai City and scolded the father and son. In total, this matter was all blamed on his own son. But Linmen didn't blame Lin Zongheng too much. If it were him, he would do the same, but the plan would be more thorough. If you kill Luo Shen first, you are deceiving Han Qian. In this way, even if it fails, it is still half successful. Linmen told Wei Tiancheng not to panic and to call him if Han Qian dared to come and cause trouble. The hanging heart finally calmed down. Linmen was the only one in the city who could compete with the backers behind Han Qian. Just after taking a breath, Miao Miao opened the office door in a panic, out of breath. He said anxiously, Han Qian is here." As soon as these words came out, Wei Tiancheng, who had just been relieved, felt his heart in his throat again, and after a moment of silence, he spoke. "Let the brothers come over. I don't believe he dares to do anything. In any case, Wei Tiancheng has been in the city for more than 20 years. When he founded Huishan Group, Han Qian was still a kid who had passed the threshold and got stuck in his crotch. Downstairs of Huishan Group, Han Qian had never been here a few times. Looking up at the office building on the 20th and 30th floors, Han Qian narrowed his eyes and asked, "Which floor to which floor is the office building of Huishan Group?" Yates took out his tablet, pushed up his glasses, and replied softly, "The 1st to 4th floors and the 9th to 11th floors are the office buildings of Huishan Group. Wei Tiancheng is on the 10th floor. The 9th and 10th floors are not open to the public. The main office area is on the 4th floor." Han Qian turned his head to look at Yates and whispered, "This guy is quite rich. Glory is only 6 floors away." As soon as he finished speaking, Han Qian walked up the steps with a steel bat. Just 2 steps away, Guan Yunbiao and Suliang rushed up from the left and right. Suliang took out the swing stick and hit it on the glass door of Huishan Group. This time the glass door didn't break, but it caused screams at the front desk. The security guards of Huishan Group quickly gathered around. Guan Yunbiao pulled out the short knife from his waist and pointed at the security captain and shouted angrily. "Let me see who dares to come here today." Suliang swung the stick again regardless, but the glass still didn't break. He turned to look at Han Qian in confusion, then ran to Han Qian in a hurry, handed the stick to Han Qian, grabbed the baseball bat and rushed back. The stick was swung out and the glass door shattered. Han Qian walked up the steps step by step. Yates whispered that they were both worried that Han Qian would open his wound. The security guards present kept retreating. Guan Yunbiao strode into Xinggui Group with a knife. Suliang swung his baseball bat and smashed everything he could hit. Someone took out his mobile phone to call the police, and Han Qian smiled. "You'd better call the police and see if they arrest your boss or me, Han Qian." "Liang haven't you eaten?" Suliang chuckled. "I'm a little full after eating, don't worry." With a stick, Suliang whipped away the golden toads at the front desk. As long as it was glass, Suliang didn't let go of any of them. No one of the more than 20 bodyguards present dared to come forward and stop them. They came to work to earn wages, not to work hard. They might be able to take down these 4 people easily, but their families might appear on the rooftop the next day. "Guan Yunbiao, this dog has no bottom line." Han Qian bent down and picked up the golden toad on the ground. Yates reminded him in a low voice. Han Qian threw the toad outside the door and smiled. "The surveillance cameras are all here for you. Take pictures carefully." "Where is Wei Tiancheng? Isn't he coming down yet?" "Smash the computer, pick the expensive one." Suliang rushed into the office area, leaned against the door, whistled at the people working inside, and smiled. "Give you 2 minutes to get out of here right away. This matter has nothing to do with you little guys." The smart man had already stood up, packed his things and left. Suliang stepped forward and took a young woman's arm, pointed at the landline on the table and smiled. "Call Wei Tiancheng." The young woman was stunned, and Suliang roared angrily. "I humming told you to call Wei Tiancheng." The young woman was already frightened. At some point, Guan Yunbiao appeared at the door and said with a smile. "Girl, you have a good figure. The KTV in District 8 is in need of a bartender like you. If you ask me, don't make this call." After saying this, the young woman quickly picked up the landline phone and dialed the number of Wei Tiancheng's office. The call was connected instantly. Suliang took the phone and smiled. "Why don't you go downstairs? You weren't so cowardly when you killed my brother." Now Suliang is not afraid at all. Before doing this, Qian Ling told him that she would not only protect Han Qian if something happened if he accompanies Han Qian to fool around. Now Suliang is confident. Wei Tiancheng hung up the phone without saying a word. When Suliang and Guan Yunbiao were about to walk up to the 3rd floor, the stairs were blocked by dozens of men in black suits, each holding a steel pipe in his hand. Suliang frowned. As soon as he took a step, Guan Yunbiao put his hand on Suliang's shoulders and grinned at the only guy wearing a white suit. "Monkey I thought you were damn dead, but you finally dare to come out today. Oh, you dead dog is still alive." Ho formerly known as Ho Kong, has a similar identity to Guan Daegu. He used to be a younger brother who followed Wei Tiancheng. He was also a desperate character. In the early years, he was similar to Guan Daegu in terms of Ming Shang. The Taoist priests called him Erge. Tu Xiao and Wei Tiancheng are sworn enemies, and they also have an incompatible relationship. Guan Daegu has a scar on the back of his neck, which was given by Monkey 2, and Monkey 2 is missing 2 fingers. These 2 fingers are gone. You have to ask Guan Yunbiao. They haven't seen each other for 10 years. After Wei Tiancheng changed his job, Ho-er also became a small manager, and Wei Tiancheng spent money to support him. Guan Yunbiao patted Suliang's shoulder and laughed softly. Go back to Jian'er. Now it's time to deal with personal grudges. After finishing his words, Guan Yunbiao smiled at Ho-er and then shouted. Come here and take the guys with you. Guan Yunbiao's cell phone was in his pocket and he was always on the phone. While he and Han Jian were waiting for Yates, he was listening to what was going on the other side of the cell phone. Since he was here to cause trouble, he had to be fully prepared. Suliang had just returned to Han Jian. Before he could say anything, there were sudden sounds of sudden braking in the square of Huishan Group. More than a dozen vans were parked in the square, and young men swarmed into Huishan Group. At the same time, Guan Yunbiao was also thrown down the stairs on the second floor by Ho-er. Seeing this, Han Jian clenched his swing stick and rushed forward, waving to prevent these unknown guys from getting close to Guan Yunbiao. Suliang helped Guan Yunbiao stand up. In less than 5 minutes, Guan Yunbiao's red suit was in tatters. These guys have no martial ethics. Ho-er, who was wearing a white suit, took out a white handkerchief, wiped his hands, and shouted to the security guards in the lobby. Okay, you have nothing to do here. Lock the door when you go out. Remember, no one is allowed to call the police. There are rules in the world, so lock up the big dog, right? After finishing his words, Ho-er threw the handkerchief in his hand towards Han Jian, narrowed his eyes and smiled. I heard that young Master Han is very good at fighting, right? I only have 200 men. Han Jian chuckled, turned around and whistled to Yates. Go wait outside and don't call the police. Yates's turn was not sloppy at all, and he stepped on a pair of high heels and walked towards the door that was about to be closed. At this time, a security guard stretched out his hand to stop him. Yates waved his hand and slapped the person in the face. The next second, he raised his knee and hit the person hard in the crotch. Han Jian's eyes were filled with admiration, and he understood why Yates was so famous in the capital. Fire doors were lowered. Guan Yunbiao wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and roared angrily. Children, let's put all our old sorrows and new grudges to rest today. With a roar, steel rod slipped from the sleeves of the boy's suit from District 8 and he held it in his hand. Then he took out a red cloth and tied it to his forehead in order to distinguish his opponents. Outside the door, Yates was sitting on the steps, playing with the security carrot on his tablet. He didn't care about the ferocious looks of the security guards behind him, and he had no intention of calling the police. What the boss says, she does. The boss is dead. He probably can't die. Seeing that the radish was about to be eaten, Luo Shen threw the tablet on the steps in anger, held his cheeks in his hands and puffed out his mouth, sulking. At this time, a handsome old man with eyes bent down and picked up the tablet. He was full of elegant temperament and chuckled softly. Aren't you worried, miss yet? Yates glanced at Wei Tiancheng out of the corner of his eye, then took out a second tablet from his bag and continued playing Defend the Carrot, completely treating Wei Tiancheng as nothing. Wei Tiancheng was not angry either. He sat next to Yates and chuckled. Guess who walks out standing? Yates frowned and stood up and walked towards her car. Even though Wei Tiancheng was so powerful, he did not dare to tie up Yates in public. As for Yates, he did not look down on Wei Tiancheng as a slave at all. Where are the tickets? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 642. All the curtains on the first floor of Huishan Group were closed. Han Jian couldn't leave or get up. He was protected by a group of boys in the middle. I don't know who took a chair and pressed Han Jian on the chair. Uncle, you are injured, just look at it and it will be fine. This grandson of Ho-er has never taken advantage of you once. He is very pretentious and his small body is the least resistant to beatings. Han Qian turned around and found that it was the man who had taken Yates's 60,000 yuan that day. Han Qian frowned. Have there been conflicts before? It was a common thing. At that time, the older generation in the 8th district were dying and running away. Wei Tiancheng and my master were fighting for the territory of the 8th district. How old was Ho Er then? 27 or 80 years old. I seem to not yet 20 years old, my blood is a little, boiling just thinking about it. While he was talking, a man rushed to Han Qian with a steel pipe. The man stepped forward to protect Han Qian, and the stick fell on his back. The man was also a pure man, and without even frowning, he turned around and hit the stick with the stick. The man fell to the ground. Then the man continued. Uncle, you can just call me Xiaohe. Apart from brother dog, I am the one in charge of everything in the 8th district. I have to thank assistant Ye for the money. Just as Han Qian was about to stand up, Xiaohe said again. Brother Liang, please rest. We can rest assured while you are sitting there. Otherwise, we would have to protect you. Brother Liang is guarding you, so don't worry. Han Qian really didn't dare to move now. He had swung the stick a few times and his whole body was hurting. He sat on the chair again. Xiaohe took out a cigarette and handed it to Han Qian, then took out a lighter and bent it. Lit his waist, Han Qian took a puff of cigarette, closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Will someone die? Xiaohe shook his head. Can't tell. Tell the brothers, Han Qian, will reimburse all the medical expenses. No matter whether you win or lose today, the reward will be 10,000 yuan per person. 10,000 yuan is too little. 20,000 yuan per person. Tell the brothers. The child looked a little excited, turned around and shouted. My uncle said that he would be rewarded 20,000 per person. Just cheer me up. Damn it. If I see who is fooling around here, I will be the first one to let go. This sentence is like chicken blood. 20,000. How long has it been since I earned so much money? I can earn between 5 and 6,000 yuan a month while working hard in the 8th district. This is the money that Boss 2 has earned recently. In the past, it was only 3,000 yuan a month. Money. There will be a fight today whether you give me money or not, and there is also a reward of 20,000 yuan and 200 red banknotes. My uncle is mighty. My uncle is so proud. The boys in District 8 did not forget to thank Han Qian during the fight. They did so from the bottom of their hearts, because their uncle did not regard them as tools, but as his own brothers. 20,000 per person, that's nearly 3 million. No one blamed Han Qian for sitting still in the chair. They all knew how badly his uncle was injured that night. Under the trend of money, the boy from District 8 became more motivated and waved the weapons in his hands more powerfully. About 20 minutes later, Han Qian stood up and walked to the stairs on the second floor. At this time, Sul Yang and Guan Yunbiao also appeared in front of Han Qian. To the left and right, Guan Yunbiao shouted. Xiaohe, I'll leave the first floor to you, I'll humming tie you up. Han Qian said softly. Go to Wei Tianquan's office. As Han Qian walked up, Wei Tianquan's younger brothers were also fierce and attacked Han Qian like crazy. Sul Yang swung a baseball bat and hit one person on the waist. The person lay on the ground with a cry. On the stairs, Han Qian continued to go upstairs. When he walked to the second floor, he found that there was no one on the second floor. Guan Yunbiao walked towards the elevator carrying a short knife and said calmly. Wei Tianquan's people are like this. Most of the guys are with him for money. Unlike those in the 8th district, just go to the 10th floor. I guess everyone is there. Han Qian shrugged, and several people walked into the elevator. He knew it was an ambush. There could only be a dozen people in the elevator at a time, and there were probably dozens of people waiting for them on the 10th floor. But Han Qian was not afraid. He would not give Wei Tiancheng any strength today. He really doesn't have a long memory. It was a big deal, and Han Qian also wanted to prove one thing, whether Lin Mend was the backer behind Wei Tiancheng. Ding! The elevator reached the 10th floor. As soon as the elevator door opened, a cold light struck, splashing with blood. Han Qian stretched out his hand to pull the injured boy behind him, raised his foot and put it on the chest of the person at the door. At the same time, Suliang had already picked up he rushed out with a baseball bat. There was another fight. Han Qian and others were blocked at the entrance of the elevator. Countless knives were directed at them. They had no choice but to retreat into the elevator. This also made it impossible for the elevator to go down and the people below to get up. Guan Yunbiao spat. Damn it, this grandson of Ho Er knows how to run to small places and doesn't have a long memory. He rushes out and won't chop him up today. I'm not a dog. As he spoke, Guan Yunbiao rushed out of the elevator, waving his dagger, and then stepped back within a few seconds. Ho Er's voice came from behind the crowd. Guan Daegu, today your dog's life is here to die. And Han Qian, don't even think about leaving any of you. What about Hook Cannon and Feng Lun? Don't you and Han Qian still have to die here today? Monkey Er's voice was full of arrogance. At this time, the last person in the crowd roared. You. Xiao Hai's roar came from the stairs. He led his people and ran directly from the 2nd floor to the 10th floor. The boy from District 8 rushed towards the crowd with a steel pipe in hand and dealt with the monkey. Without any effort, there was a sound of steel pipes colliding. It lasted less than 20 minutes, and the 10th floor became quiet. It has been exactly an hour since I walked into the main entrance of Huishan Group and now I am sitting on Wei Tianquan's chair. Looking around Wei Tianquan's office, this thief really enjoys it. The floor-to-ceiling windows behind the chair can see the scenery of the entire city. The furnishings in the room are very expensive. Han Qian took out his mobile phone and sent a text message to Nuan. Lending me 4 million. Nuan called directly. Han Qian hurriedly made a silent gesture towards Xiao Hai at the door. If Nuan knew that he was fighting again, there would definitely be a quarrel when he returned home. Xiao Hai shouted angrily and the entire 10th floor was quiet. Han Qian pressed the connect button, and a warm voice came. Why do you want so much money? Give me your card number and I'll transfer it to you, cough Mr. Wen, we're having a meeting. Yu Shisai's voice also came over the phone, and Han Qian whispered. Can't you use cash? Where can I get you so much cash? I'll transfer the poem to you and you can figure it out yourself. I'm in a meeting and I'm hanging up. Nuan called just to confirm whether the message was sent by Han Qian. As for the 4 million, she still didn't take it seriously. After hanging up the phone, Guan Yunbiao dragged Ho Er into the office. Looking at the blood on his face, he knew that Guan Yunbiao's I'm done with my anger. Han Qian sat on Wei Tianquan's chair and smiled. Where is Wei Tiancheng? Are you leaving yourself here to take the blame? Ho Er spat at Han Qian, and Guan Yunbiao kicked him in the face and cursed angrily. Did I give you face, bastard? Do you need me to throw it down the window for you? After saying this, he turned to look at Han Qian and frowned. You have money but no place to spend it? Where can you get 20,000 yuan per person? How many ladies can you ask for it? Come on, this is not a small amount. Han Qian grinned. It's for brothers. You and Suliang don't get a cent, you work for nothing. When the money arrives, you call Boss 2's secretary and I will transfer it to your card directly. I'll call Wei Tiancheng. While he was talking, the bank card text message had arrived. Han Qian called the bank to transfer the money directly to Guan Daegu. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian looked for Wei Tianquan's number and said calmly. 1 million is for Boss Tuesday. As for whether he will give it to you, you have to ask for it yourself. The rest will be divided among the brothers. After finishing his words, he picked up the phone and put it to his ear. It took a long time for the call to be answered. Han Qian said with a smile. Director Wei, why is your Huishan group like a den of thieves? What? Abandoned Ho Er and ran away? What you did as a big brother is somewhat unjust. Come up here and let's have a good chat. Haha, Han Qian, you are awesome. I have already called the police. Let's see you in court. Hearing that Wei Tiancheng called the police, Han Qian smiled and laughed. Call the police? Haha. Ha 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 ha, I beg you to call the police quickly, and then see if the police arrest me or you, the accomplice of Yezai Pavilion who brought the cannon into the house. Won't you come up? Okay. We have plenty. Time is playing slowly. Brother Guan, write a banner saying that Wei Tiancheng and Go De Peo are in the same group, and the two of them jointly want to kill Miss Luo, and then hang them out through the window. Wei Tiancheng downstairs couldn't help it anymore and growled. Han Qian, don't go too far. Don't forget that I know how you plotted against Li Dehai and his son. I will tell the whole country that Yan Qingqing's shares came from unclear sources. Han Qian turned to look out the window and sneered. Do you believe that Li Dehai can come back and kill you? You can threaten or torment as much as you want, and even if I frown, I'm still your son. Now you have 2 ways to go. Now come up here and I'll have a good chat with you. Regarding the matter, the second way is to call the person behind you and ask him to rescue you. Otherwise, I will immediately go to the Yamen gate with the surveillance camera of Yezai Pavilion to sue you for paying to commit murder. Do you think Luo Shen will let you go? Come up, I won't hit you. The call was suddenly hung up. Han Qian smiled disdainfully, put down his phone and found half a carton of cigarettes in Wei Tiancheng's drawer. He took out a box and threw the rest to Xiao Hai. Go. Let your finances divide the money quickly. Use these cigarettes for brothers to smoke. Remember, you can eat and drink here as you like. You can smash things, but don't make money. Uncle, I understand. At this time, Suliang stepped forward, took the cigarette from Han Qian's hand, opened it, and said calmly. What's next? Han Qian smiled. Wait for the call. About 10 minutes later, when Han Qian was putting out his cigarette, Lin Zongheng called. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 643. Han Qian, let's talk. If things get too big, it won't be good for anyone. Han Qian laughed after hearing this. Young Master Lin, do you have to get involved in Wei Tiancheng and I's affairs? This is our business inside and out, right? Wei Tiancheng was a good ally who sent me a plane and rented me a hotel. He's dead. After saying that, Han Qian hung up the phone and nodded to Guan Degu. Guan Degu smashed the window with a chair and hammered down a blank banner. Then Han Qian sent someone to pick up Yates. Yates arrived on the 10th floor under the protection of everyone, walked into the office expressionlessly, and stood beside Han Qian without saying a word. Han Qian was not in a hurry. At this time, the phone rang again. Han Qian looked out the window and seemed to have no intention of answering the phone. Yates hesitated for more than 10 seconds, picked up the phone and answered the call. Hello, I am Secretary Yates. Yates. There was a question on the phone, but Yates didn't speak, and the other party asked again. I'm Lu Guangming, I have something to do with Han Qian. It's not convenient for my husband to answer the phone right now. If Director Lu has anything to do, you can just ask me. As my husband's secretary, I don't mind if Director Lu comes to sell me a favor at this time. You can't afford to pay him back in the future. Yates's voice was very crisp. Lu Guangming was silent for a while on the phone, and then smiled. Help me make an appointment with your husband to have dinner together when you have time. Call Tu Xiao and Wu Si Quan. They are all old friends. Let's get together. Okay, I'll pass it on. Yates hung up the phone, put down the phone with both hands, and said softly. Lu Guangming seems to want to intercede on Wei Tianquan's behalf. I know Lu Guangming a little bit. He can't afford it if he doesn't benefit. I guess he got some promise from Wei Tiancheng to continue our friendship. Han Qian pinched his chin and said calmly. There is no reason to break up. He wants to benefit. I can't give up my interests just because of his words. Find a time to send someone some gifts to let him understand that Lu Guangming is just a friend to Han Qian. Don't put yourself in trouble really like a big brother. New. While talking, the phone rang again. Han Qian glanced at the number and said calmly. Luo Shanda. Yates hung up immediately, and then the phone rang again. Yates picked up the phone and said coldly. Hello, I am Secretary Yates. Gao Jingcheng, ask Han Qian if he really wants to play Wei Tiancheng to death. If he says it's true, I'll serve a celebratory drink. If it's false, that's pretty much it. Tea instead of wine, my husband is injured. Gao Xingcheng hung up the phone directly, looked at the two people sitting in the office, bared his teeth and nodded. Wu Siguan whined and lay on the sofa, moaning feebly. Wei Tiancheng called me and asked me to help him plead for mercy. The price he offered made me so tempted. No. I have to find a little boy to distract myself from falling in love. You two can discuss it? Gao Xingyi stood behind the sofa, supporting his two forearms on the back of the sofa, and whispered. Han Qian is serious this time. Wei Tiancheng has been testing Han Qian's bottom line again and again for no good reason. I heard Lu Shenge nagging that he didn't want Han Qian to die or be injured this time. It was Wei Tiancheng who was there. Among them, the devil must be killed together with Han Qian. Luo Shanda, let me give you a piece of advice, it is better to enjoy the shade under the big tree, don't ignore a big forest for a few broken peaches. Luo Shanda nodded, then looked down at Wu Siguan. Let's fall in love. Wu Siguan glanced at Luo Shanda and said contemptuously. Can you last another hour in bed? Get out if you can't. Luo Shanda sighed, and he didn't know who he was sighing for, maybe it was for his former allies. At this time, Gao Shanda's phone rang. He answered the call and said a few words before hanging up and sighing. Okay, don't get involved. Lu Guangming called. He meant that if he dared to ask for mercy just now, he would be the next Li Dehai. Whether Wei Tiancheng can survive this time depends on his network of connections. How deep? Wu Siguan took out his mobile phone and sent Yates a text message. Wei Tiancheng is looking for help. At Huishan Group, Han Qian continued to stare out the window in a daze. Lu Shenge called. When Yates answered the phone, this guy scolded Yates. Han Qian took the phone and frowned. I'm not in a good mood. Don't come here to be a bitch. You have something to say. Wei Tiancheng gave me a lot of money. Let me beg for mercy. Pleading. I don't mind thinking that you sent someone to kill me. The tacit agreement between the two of us can be torn up. I can let someone kill you, which is more professional than hooking a cannon. Don't. You are the uncle now, and I will not risk my life with you. Mad Dog Han, what is your relationship with Feng Lun? Kui Li helped me kill Go Cannon and the killer sent by Wei Tiancheng. You can guess for yourself. After hanging up the phone, Lu Shenge couldn't help but shudder. Does Han Qian have such a good relationship with these two lunatics? When Han Qian reached for the cigarette on the table, Yates had already lit one and handed it to Han Qian. Han Qian looked out the window and continued. Suliang is out. He took a risk for me this time. What should I give him? Miss Yet. Yates lowered his head and said softly. Mr. Suliang and you are good friends, it's not for me to speak. Han Qian sighed. There are more and more people asking for mercy. I didn't expect Wei Tiancheng to have so many friends in the city. It really makes me sad. The more they beg for mercy, the angrier I get. I spent half an hour on the banner. Write a word. I see. Han Qian was still waiting. At noon, the boys in District 8 had all received their money. Han Qian told them that they could disperse. As for Ho Er, he asked Xiao Hai to take him back to District 8 and take good care of him. He must not die. This guy it's still useful if you keep it. Ye Zi brought food to Han Qian. Han Qian had no appetite. Suliang sat across from the desk and gulped down, mumbling. How much do you need to prepare for this time? Qian what, brother, let me think. Eat your food. We brothers won't talk about this. I understand what you mean, but this time everyone will benefit, and I can't miss you. But it's useless for you to give too much. You got it out of glory. Mr. Yan can eat me alive. I asked Yates to choose a car for you. Didn't you say that your father-in-law has always disliked your poor Xiaoli car? Change it? He, domineering. Must be domineering. Didn't my aunt buy it for you? Why didn't you want it then? Director Qian is Director Qian. I am short-handed when taking money from Dong. I won't be polite when taking yours. Even if there is nothing like this today, I would like to ask you to borrow some money to buy a car. Han Qian smiled. It is estimated that everyone in the city now knows that he is going to attack Wei Tiancheng. Yates took a glass of water and handed it to Suliang, saying softly. Mr. Han, you don't seem to be in a hurry. Han Qian turned around and smiled. Urgent? Why should I be anxious? Do you know why no one has been calling or coming here at the Yamen gate? Don't you understand at all? Miss Ye, use your brain. I don't move, and I don't understand even if I move. Yates simply admitted that he couldn't figure it out. Han Qian blinked at Suliang. Suliang stood up and asked him if he needed to go out. Han Qian looked at Suliang dumbfounded and asked him if he was stupid. Suliang laughed innocently. Han Qian picked up the water glass, took a sip, took a deep breath and said calmly. I say listen, how much you can understand depends on your own understanding. The Mid-Autumn Festival tragedy was not an accident, it was a plan that has been planned for a long time. Toad killing his wife's affair partner is just a cover. Feng Lun's purpose is not to let Feng's Haida die. These people want more, and Feng's Haida and Wei Tiancheng at the Yamen gate are the tools of those two people to hand over to Feng Lun. Afterwards, Feng's Haida did not expect that he was not dead. He has been using this excuse to threaten certain people, so he will eventually commit suicide in prison, and it was me who sent Feng's Haida to prison, and it was another person who forced Feng's Haida to death, but Wei Tiancheng will be blamed. Suliang's eyes were a bit confused, but he seemed to understand. Yates nodded slightly, but he didn't understand everything. Han Qian continued with a smile. Then they were tricked by Feng Lun, so Go De Peo showed up. That bullshit Cai King Hu. His target was me. He wanted to find out where Feng Lun was from me and help them get back their interests. The person behind it was difficult to take action directly, so Wei Tiancheng once again became a tool to deal with dangerous people, which means that he holds the secrets of these big guys, but no one expected that not only did he fail to hook De Peo, but he fell into my hands. Here, what a pity that such a good tool man is in jail. Some people helped him escape from prison. Suliang suddenly realized that this time it was Yates' turn to be confused. Han Qian smiled bitterly. Whether you hook the cannon to kill Luo Shen or kill me, it won't affect Lin Zongheng's plan, but some people want me to die more, so that Feng Lun will find a new target, and then this target will most likely be killed by them. They bribed me, but they miscalculated. Lin Zongheng should never have told me about this plan. After I learned about it, I deliberately angered Feng Lun and asked him to come back and cause trouble for me. When is the city's most lax defense? That is, everyone when we focus on the party, Feng Lun doesn't necessarily want to kill me, but he will definitely kill Go De Peo. Han Qian frowned and said again in confusion. Are you two idiots? What I'm talking about is simply that those people don't dare to let Wei Tiancheng be arrested now. If Wei Tiancheng is arrested, if this guy tells everything, the big boss behind him won't be able to handle it. This is what Feng Lun has always wanted to see, so Feng Lun told me that Wei Tiancheng gave him 1 million, and he wanted to use my hand to put Wei Tiancheng into prison. Now it happens that Wei Tiancheng has something in my hands. Someone who can the secret that sent him to prison, so. Today I killed someone here, and Wei Tiancheng and the people behind him have to cover up the crime for me. Now I ask you, Yates, why should I be anxious? Yates tilted his head and frowned. Who told you this? Han Qian shrugged. You can understand Bin Hai City's situation by just deducing it. Even a fool can guess it. Yates looked at Han Qian with somewhat horrified eyes, took a step back and said in a deep voice. So you used their plan to get involved. Are you planning your plan step by step? Han Qian, what are you doing? Han Qian smiled. I had no choice but to join the game. If Wen Nuan hadn't been at the Mid-Autumn Festival Gala, I probably wouldn't have joined the game. But if Wen Nuan hadn't been there, the game wouldn't have been possible. I have no purpose, it's just a last resort. What's the purpose? Does protecting Wen Nuan count? Why? It's as good as it comes. Miss Ye, go home and think about everything I said. Then you'll understand. It's best to guess what I'm going to do next. As for Liang just listen to these things. Just a joke. Su Liang smiled and nodded. I understand half of it. I won't worry about it. If you have anything to do, just come to me. After saying this, the guy continued to eat. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Han Qian's cell phone rang again. This time Han Qian did not let Yates answer the phone, he pressed the connect button and laughed loudly. Mr. Lin, you're fine. On the other side of the phone, Lin Mend hung up the phone directly, his face as gloomy as water. This kid figured I would call him. Fell into a trap. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 644. Wei Tiancheng became an ant on the hot pot. The gentlemanly elegance he had before disappeared completely. He sat here and kept calling people for help. Everyone he could contact was contacted. These guys talked nice, but it has no effect at all. Compared with these people, he was more worried that Lin Mend had abandoned him. Now that two big characters had appeared on the banner, it wouldn't be long before Han Qian announced the news, and by then it would be too late. The more anxious Wei Tiancheng was, the less anxious Han Qian was. He sat in Wei Tiancheng's office and looked at this and that. Su Liang suggested opening Wei Tiancheng's computer to see if there were any private photos in it. Guan Yunbiao clapped his hands in agreement, Yates snorted and walked to the window. The two guys were tinkering with the computer carelessly. They felt that Han Qian was a bit in the way, so Guan Yunbiao pushed Han Qian away with the chair. Yates turned to look at Han Qian. There was a bit of worry in her eyes, but Han Qian's face was calm. Don't be impatient or impatient. When the time came to 2 o'clock, Han Qian signaled Yates to prepare to write the third word, Wei Tiancheng's. When the banner was thrown out of the window again, Han Qian's cell phone rang. Han Qian smiled and answered the call. Laughed loudly. Secretary Niu, why do you have time to call me? On the phone, Niu Qiudong laughed softly. You kid made such a big fuss. It's hard not to know about it. It's enough to vent your anger. I'll pretend I don't know about you leading Guan Yunbiao to smash the Huishan group. Let's leave it alone. Oh. Obedient. Niu Qiudong hung up the phone, and Han Qian threw the phone to Yates, who asked in confusion. Disperse. Han Qian curled his lips and said disdainfully. I don't even give my father face. How can he, Niu Qiudong, be considered barren? Call Wei Tiancheng and ask him whether he wants to live or die. In the last hour, you start preparing to acquire Huishan. What? If you don't understand, jump out of the window. Yates glared at Han Qian, turned around and looked down the window, and then ran to the corridor outside to make a phone call. Yates went out, and Han Qian hurriedly got up and asked the two of them if they had found the photo. It's okay not to ask. After asking, I found out that the two guys haven't found the power on password yet. These two wastes. Not long after, Yates came back and conveyed Wei Tianquan's message softly. He asked Han Qian what conditions he had, and Han Qian frowned. Didn't I already tell you my conditions? Are you coming back to ask me? Yates, you became famous by inflating. Yates was so angry that he gritted his teeth. Ever since he entered this office, he had been beaten by Han Qian, and it was the kind that she couldn't refute. Yates couldn't bear it anymore, handed the phone to Han Qian, and said angrily. I quit. Hold the door for me when you go out. The angry Yates turned around and left. When she grabbed the door handle, she stopped, turned around and trotted to Han Qianshan, snatched the phone away, and went out to make a call. However, within a minute of leaving the house, the woman grabbed the phone and rushed away. Came back in a hurry. Lin Men's phone number. Han Qian took the phone and hung up, then turned off the phone and told Yates to sleep for a while and not to disturb him. Yates looked at Han Qian, who walked to the sofa and lay down hard. Could it be that he didn't know what nervousness was? Downstairs of Huishan Group, Lin Men came, a very simple old model Buick business. Seeing this, Wei Tiancheng got out of the car and trotted all the way into the business Buick. He closed the door, and before he could speak, Lin Men waved and slapped Wei Tianquan's face. Waste. Wei Tiancheng lowered his head and did not dare to breathe. Lin Men said coldly. What conditions did that little beast put forward? Wei Tiancheng opened his mouth, then lowered his head and whispered. I don't know. Snapped. Lin Men said angrily with a slap on the head. Let you get in touch with Han Qian early so that you can have a good relationship with him and make him trust you, and you. Seeing Wei Tianquan's appearance, Lin Men was so angry that he took out his crutch and swung it down across his head and buttocks. In just a few dozen seconds, blood was already left on Lin Men's forehead. After bleeding, Lin Men's anger subsided a bit. He opened the car door and got out of the car with a cane, saying coldly. Come up with me. Let's see what tricks this little beast can do. Do you really think it's the Monkey King and no one can cure him? Lin Men walked into Huishan Group and looked at the messy lobby on the first floor. His face was ashen. Arriving all the way to the office on the 10th floor, Lin Men had a gloomy face and didn't know what he was thinking. When he opened the office door, Lin Men didn't see Han Qian, but saw two guys who were still tinkering with the computer. Lin Men frowned and shouted angrily. Who are you? Get out of here. Before Guan Yunbiao and Suliang could speak, Han Qian, who was sleeping on Yates' thigh, sat up and frowned. Let me listen to what you are saying. After saying that, he rubbed his eyes and stood up. He walked behind Guan Yunbiao and drew out his short knife and rushed towards Wei Tiancheng. Yates and Guan Yunbiao hurriedly stopped Han Qian. Han Qian pointed the knife at Wei Tiancheng and cursed angrily. Drafting it up, do you really dare to come up? Wei Tiancheng had a gloomy face and said nothing, but Lin Men's frown relaxed and he smiled. Niece-in-law, it's all a misunderstanding. Let's sit down and talk slowly. Han Qian put down the knife in his hand, walked to the sofa, sat down, crossed his legs, and whispered to Yates. Secretary, yeah, Prepare some water, just a paper cup. Lin Men's face changed faster than that of a peking opera singer, as if he wasn't the one who wanted to chop someone with a knife just now. Lin Men sat opposite Han Qian, but Wei Tiancheng did not sit down. This was already his office, but now it seemed like he was same as guests. At this time, Sul Yang and Guan Yunbiao were also standing behind Han Qian. Good brothers must give enough when they need face. Han Qian leaned on the sofa and smiled. Mr. Lin, are you here to stand up for Wei Tiancheng today? Don't be mean between us. Time is precious. Lin Men pretended to be dissatisfied and said. Niece-in-law. Why speak two different languages when we are all from the same family? Xiao Wei was also confused for a moment. You see, your company has been destroyed, as well as the people. If things get too big, it will not be good for anyone. I will let you go tomorrow. Xiao Wei comes to apologize to you, it's all a misunderstanding, there's nothing that can't be overcome. Ah! There was a sneer, and Yates came over with a paper cup. Han Qian sat up straight, leaned forward slightly and narrowed his eyes. Lin meant, I'm talking about business with you and you're talking about friendship with me? Okay, then let's talk about friendship. You see, Wen Nuan has been enjoying the role of vice president for 4 or 5 years. It's almost time to sit as president. The chair, right? Since we are all a family, and the emperor takes turns, it should also be the turn to be warm, right? Lin Mend was stunned for a moment, then smiled. My niece and son-in-law are always thinking about this girl Nuan Nuan. I don't mind letting this little girl Nuan Nuan take over the position of president, but I no longer interfere in the company's affairs, and I can't speak. Then you should spit out 5% of Chang Xiang's shares to protect Wei Tiancheng. We are all one family, and what's yours is mine, right? You can't slap your wrinkled old face in front of me. My injuries will be healed, old man, are you right? My niece-in-law is really good at joking. My face is worthless and I don't need to give it to you. It's just that I can't fulfill your request. Han Qian smiled, leaned forward again, and whispered. Then why are you, this old bastard hiding behind, here? Lin meant, others respectfully call you Mr. Lin, but I, Han Qian, have never understood what it means to respect the old and love the young. Your son spent money to buy my legs. Sushan killed me, hired hooks and cannons to cause trouble for me, and kidnapped my woman. You just said this and let it go? Who the hell do you think you are? Since he came here to cause trouble today, Han Qian has never thought about giving face to anyone. Sooner or later, he will be at odds with each other, and it will take no less than 10 days and a half. Lin Mend was not angry, but laughed. It's not a good thing for young people to be too arrogant. Han Qian took back his body, shrugged and said calmly. How can you be called a young man if you are not arrogant? Have you never studied? Don't you know what youth and frivolity mean? You take out 5% of the shares and pretend that this has never happened. I throw the evidence in my hand into the stove, right? It's good for everyone. Lin Mend looked at Han Qian with contempt and said sarcastically. What if I don't agree? Han Qian also smiled and said with a smile. Then Huishan Group will change its owner tomorrow. Feng's Haida committed suicide before being convicted after being imprisoned. Do you think that if Director Wei is imprisoned, will he also commit suicide? Director Wei, let's talk about who Feng's Haida is and why. What about suicide? Who is he afraid of? Wei Tiancheng said nothing, and Han Qian stood up and stretched. Only then did Yates realize that Han Qian's back was bleeding, but he didn't seem to feel anything and yawned vaguely. If we can talk, let's talk here. If we can't, let's go to the bureau and talk. The surveillance video is in my pants pocket. Do you want to try and snatch it away? Lin Men's eyes were wandering. He was wondering if he should find an opportunity to kill Wei Tiancheng. It is estimated that this will be difficult. These people maintained by Wei Tiancheng are used to prepare for this day. Lin Men closed his eyes and sighed. Niece-in-law. Change the conditions. Change it? Han Qian held his chin with one hand and was silent for 5 or 6 minutes, then sat on the sofa and said calmly. You take away all the shares in Wen Nuan's hands 30% higher than the market price, and I want to pay it off in one go. It's your business where to get the money, and then I'll take the Huishan Group, which is 100% lower than the market price. I will buy 50% of it, and I will take Wei Tiancheng away today. I am worried that he will die in an accident, so I will give you 2 days to prepare the funds. The sudden conditions made Lin Meng and others a little unsure of what Han Qian was planning. But he agreed. Han Qian's attitude had already been shown. Continuing the conversation would only make this little beast understand how important the thing in his hand was. Lin Men stood up and smiled at Han Qian. Niece-in-law. There is no reason for us to be enemies. Han Qian narrowed his eyes and replied. What if I marry Luo Shen? As soon as these words came out, Lin Men's expression changed, he snorted and left the office, leaving Wei Tiancheng alone. Han Qian smiled at Wei Tiancheng, then put away his smile and said coldly. Brother Guan, Director Wei, please go to the 8th district as a guest. We're dismissed. I have no tickets today. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 645. After leaving Huishan Group, Han Qian got into Yates' car. Suliang followed Guan Degu to District 8 and sat in the passenger seat. Han Qian had a ferocious look on his face, covering his shoulders and breathing in cold air. Yates drove the car non-stop to the hospital. When they arrived at the hospital, the doctor was no longer surprised when he saw Han Qian. Han Qian was still injured when he was in the elevator. It was already dark when he left the hospital again. Han Qian smoked a cigarette to relieve the pain. Yates was holding a glass of juice. Squatting next to Han Qian. She didn't dare to look at Han Qian. At this moment, Han Qian didn't have any clothes on his upper body and was tightly wrapped in bandages. Yates felt pain at just one glance. Miss Ye, I'll give you a task. The first is to choose a car for Suliang, and then I can't go home tonight, and I can't let them find out that I'm injured again. Give me an excuse. Find me a place to stay. Yates turned his head and muttered softly. My home. Walk. Hey. Wait, my house can't be used. Han Qian, I'll open a room for you. Han Qian, who had already walked to the car, turned around and said angrily. Do you believe that Cai King Hu checks my room opening records every 2 days? Do you really think they trust me 100%? Look, the phone call came. What's wrong, Aunt Ji? Ji Jing whispered that she missed him and called him to ask. After chatting for more than 10 minutes, Ji Jing remembered that there was still soup in the kitchen and hung up the phone in a hurry. Then Nuan called and asked Han Qian if he would go home today. Han Qian whispered. I may not be able to go back today. I arrested Wei Tiancheng. You let nursery rhymes and poems accompany you. I will go to your company to talk to you tomorrow. I'm a bit busy, so I'll hang up now. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian nuzzled at Yeji. Did you see? I'm not as free as you think, and besides, if they knew I was injured again, they would send me back to the hospital to lie down. What are you doing? Come here and drive. Yates reluctantly sat in the driver's seat and murmured incessantly. Han Qian ignored him. Yates asked Han Qian if he could live somewhere else, such as Wan Fang's house or a friend's house. Tired of nagging Han Qian, he turned around and said angrily. Stop ink, just go to your house. I won't sleep with you. What are you afraid of? Don't sleep at night either. I'll give you a good makeup lesson. Yates was quiet. She lived in a high-end apartment with high security. When she stood in front of Yates' house, the woman hesitated and refused to open the door. Han Qian closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "Open the door, I can guess it." Yates was a little embarrassed. When he opened the door, Han Qian turned around and left. "I'm staying in a hotel." But before he could take 2 steps, his trouser leg was bitten by a Rottweiler. Han Qian bent down and touched the silly Rottweiler, and walked into Yates' house helplessly. Yates turned on the light, and Han Qian frowned and looked at the clothes on the sofa and the takeout boxes on the dining table. Fortunately, the 2 dogs were very well behaved and there was no scene of breaking up the house. Doberman rubbed Yates's leg and then returned to the cage. Rottweiler followed Han Qian all the time. The 2 brothers got along very well. Yates sat on the sofa resignedly. "Anyway, that's it, you can make fun of me. I live alone with 2 dogs, and no one will come to the house. You are the first. Lushenga has never been to my house. Han Qian, go to bed." Rowena obediently returned to the cage, and Han Qian glared at Yates and walked up to the 2nd floor. The style of the apartment is very good. There is a small living room and a bedroom on the 2nd floor. The bedroom also has a balcony covered by glass. You can see the night sky while lying on the bed. The living room on the 2nd floor is quite clean. At least there are no clothes. Pants littering situation. But Han Qian found a small cover under the cushion of the sofa, held the cover with 2 fingers and whispered softly. "Yates, don't you think women's underwear should appear in wardrobe drawers and bathrooms? Is this a surprise for me? Give it to you." While talking, Yezize came to the small living room on the 2nd floor. She had already changed into her pajamas, holding a Lakers uniform in her hand, and threw it to Han Qian, saying softly, "I only have this large size one here. Your pants are full of blood. Take them off and I'll throw them away. Here. Otherwise, where else do you want to go? I'm not afraid of a woman, so what are you afraid of? Right." Wearing only a pair of big shorts without a shirt, Yates packed up Han Qian's pants and threw them into the trash can, then tied the bag and threw it down the stairs. "See this?" Han Qian frowned. "You 2 can't get through a day together, you know." Yates turned around and sat on the sofa, took out 2 bottles of Coke from the drawer of the coffee table, threw one to Han Qian, and said calmly, "I'm not planning to live with you either. I'll sleep on the sofa tonight and you'll sleep in the bedroom." Lying on Yates's bed, Han Qian looked at the night sky and was slightly lost in thought. He didn't know whether this opportunity would be successful or not. Most of it would depend on the woman Luo Shen and Lu Shenga. Now there was a 70% chance that Luo Shen would take action, and Lu Shenga. Where is Shenga? He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. When he opened his eyes again, a pretty face appeared in front of him. Han Qian was so frightened that he almost fell off the bed, patted his chest and gasped. "Why are you up so late at night?" Yates knelt beside the bed in his pajamas, staring at Han Qian with his big eyes, and said seriously, "I do not understand. Sister. It's midnight, it's 9 o'clock. Is there something you don't understand why you are saying no tomorrow?" Yates knelt down beside Han Qian and said again, "I can't understand why you can see through such a big conspiracy in the city, but I can't see anything. Mr. Han, I never thought I was stupid, but since I walked into Huishan group with you today, I am confused. Yes, why?" Han Qian grabbed the quilt and covered himself tightly, frowning. "What the hell? Why don't you understand?" Yates stared at Han Qian and asked seriously, "Why was it that after the Mid-Autumn Festival tragedy, everyone was threatened by Feng Lun, but you were the only one who benefited? Why did Feng Lun choose you? Wait a minute, I'll call Feng Lun and ask him to talk to you." Han Qian stood up and fumbled for his phone and found that it was left in the living room. He didn't bother to get out of bed and frowned at Yates. I don't know the reason why Feng Lun chose me. Please try another question. Why did you choose not to go when you knew there was going to be danger at this party? Guess. The last question is for you to go to sleep after. I don't understand your last condition today. You asked Lin Men to buy Nuan's shares at a price of 130%, so that Nuan would be kicked out of Changxiang, and then spent money to buy Huishan Group. Huishan Group. The gap between Changxiang and Changxiang is not even small. Why should we do a business that is losing money? Hearing Yates ask this question, Han Qian lay on the bed, covered his head with a quilt, and spoke angrily. I won't tell you any more, you are too stupid. However, Yates lifted up the quilt and got in. Han Qian was so frightened that he got up and got out of bed, frowned and shouted at Yates. Female gangster, what are you doing? Yates revealed a pair of eyes under the quilt and asked again. Tell me. You won't be able to sleep well if you don't tell me. What a sin, you can play by yourself, I'm going home. When you get home, I'll tell Nuan that you're injured again. Faced with the threat, Han Qian was frightened. He went to bed, lifted the quilt and slapped Yates twice on the buttocks. The sound was clear, but Yates remained silent and covered his buttocks and looked at Han Qian. Han Qian couldn't do anything about this dead-end thing. He pulled the quilt and lay on the bed, and pulled Yates's feet away with his hands. As a result, the woman put her head over him like a dogskin plaster. It was clear that Yates was very pure in her mind. She just wanted to know what Han Qian's plan was. She had no purpose and simply didn't understand. Han Qian stretched out his hand and pushed Yates' head away, saying irritably. You stay away from me. What do you say? I'm going to hit you for being coquettish. Yates stopped talking and sat beside Han Qian without speaking or moving. Han Qian sat up in anger and said angrily. To put it simply, Lin Zongheng wants to kill Luo Shen, and Luo Shen already knows it. I don't mind letting her become the fourth force in the city. Lin Zongheng and I have a grudge. I want to help Luo Shen stand firm and let her become my helper in dealing with Lin Zongheng. Let Wenwen leave Changxiang now, let Luoshan attack unscrupulously, wait for the Lin family to collapse, Changxiang shareholders will withdraw their shares, and then let Wenwen acquire it, and wait until the shares in Wenwen's hands are greater than that of the Lin family when Luo Shen stopped attacking, understand? Yates nodded and asked immediately. Will Luo Shen listen to you? Han Qian stretched out his hand and pinched Yates' face, saying helplessly. There is a 70% to 80% chance that Luo Shen will agree. If the Luo family trusts her, they will not choose to marry the Lin family. Now Luo Shen needs to prove herself and avenge herself, and I am the most suitable ally for her. What about Lu Shenga? What does it have to do with him? Do you think he will form an alliance with Lin Zongheng? Don't worry, it's impossible. It's no secret in the circle that Go Depeo is Lin Zongheng's man. Go Depeo almost beat Lu Shengguo to death. Can Shenga swallow this breath? What if you can't beat Lin Mend? Go. Get out of here now. I want to hit you now, I'm sleepy, don't disturb me. Han Qian pulled up the quilt and took the pillow and closed his eyes and went to sleep. This time Yates was quiet. He lay on the other half of the bed and looked at Han Qian. About half an hour later, Yates whispered. Straight guy, bad guy, schemer, violent. After the words fell, Han Qian spoke. Should I stop hitting you and make you feel tickled? Yates quickly turned over and went to sleep. He's still a monster. Yates curled up on the edge of the bed, and Han Qian lay on the other side. There was room for two Yates between them. One night. Calm and calm.